Hey guys, my name's Nell. Today we'll be doing an all-over body workout on the reformer. I've been teaching these programs for 15 years and they successfully progress you through the Pilates repertoire. I really hope you enjoy. Now let's get started. Okay, let's start with VMO Series. Your feet are in a V position, toes on the bar, heels together. Okay, you're pushing out and in, really squeezing the heels together. And we're doing 20 of these quite fast, making sure that you return the carriage without banging the carriage back into the stopper. So you've really got to engage the front, the back, and the inside of the legs as you push out and in. Pelvic stability, so a gentle lift of the pelvic floor, a gentle drawing down of the abdominals down towards the spine, but keep the spine in a neutral position. Fully straighten the legs when you straighten them. And now into VMO knock knees. Okay, so your toes are exactly where they are. You push out, keeping the knees together, go all the way back into the stopper, and then within that range, you're going to do 20 of these. So the knees are together throughout the whole of the exercise. The toes are on the bar as they were in the V position, but then the heels are out wider. So it's like a knocked knee. This really gets into the muscles on the inside of the knees and the inside of the legs. In through the nose, out through the mouth, expanding the ribs and then contracting the abdominals, keeping the muscles in the legs engaged throughout. Prehensile plies. Now bring your legs together, so your ankles, your knees, your inside thighs are together and the bar is on the arch of the foot. Wrap your toes around and then out and in, 20 of these. Really squeeze the back of the legs, squeeze the knees together. Shoulders are back and down, stabilizing the torso by imprinting the arms back and down. You'll start to really feel this in the legs. We're doing 20 of these. Keep wrapping the toes around the bar, strengthening the muscles underneath the toes. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Controlling the bed in. Control the bed in. And now toes on the bar, ankles, knees, legs together. So straighten your legs and then bend halfway down. Now hold that little squat and then you lower and lift the heels down and up. So the bed's about 20 centimeters away from the stopper. And then the challenge here is to keep the carriage still as you lower and lift your heels. Ankles, knees, inside thighs are glued together. You've got to control the carriage by engaging your quads and your hamstrings in an isometric contraction, so a held contraction here. Pelvic floor, deep abdominals. To finish, fully straighten the legs and then lower the heels down and then straight into calf rises. Imagine there's a magnet between your ankles, your knees and your groin. The big toe joints are touching, strengthening the soles of the feet and the calves, and then really stretch through your posture. And then into prances, so one at a time. The challenge here is to keep the pelvis very still, so you don't want to swing your hips around when the heel lowers down. Articulate through the ankle joint, really lift the heels up and then lower the heel down. Imagine you're looking over a neighbour's fence, you want to go right up. Check into your neck and your shoulders. Have a little stretch at the end of those and then return with control. So now widen your legs. The foot is in line with your sit bone and we're doing a toe Develope. So you straighten the legs and then return underneath the bar. Extend the legs and then return with length. Put your thumbs on your ribs and your fingers on your hip bones. You want to keep both sides of your waist nice and long, so you don't want to hitch one hip up and rock your tail left and right. Keeping the pelvis very still is the priority. And don't worry about how high the leg lifts, okay? So if you need to extend your leg out a little lower on a diagonal, then obviously do that. So foot is in line with your sit bone, extend the legs and then return using the abdominals. Squeeze the kneecaps up and then engage the abdominals. So we're strengthening your thighs here, but also that supporting leg, that left leg that's on the bar, we want to feel like you're pressing that thigh bone down towards the floor to strengthen the back of the legs. If your leg doesn't go straight up like that, just reach it out on an angle, maintaining a neutral, nice still pelvis, so you've got a little hollow in the lower back. And now we're doing heel Jake the peg. So the heel's in line with the sit bone, the other leg is up towards the ceiling or thereabouts. You lower down and then return. Now imagine the inside thighs are almost glued together. They're moving as one unit. This is a pelvic stability exercise. So you want to be able to do this movement in the legs without rocking, tucking the pelvis or the lower back. The tailbone's down, there's a little hollow in the lower back. And then heel in line with the sit bone, other leg up. Energy out through the legs. Breathing out through the mouth and then in through the nose. Out through the mouth and then in through the nose. May want to place the hands on the hips of the bones of the pelvis there, making sure that they stay even, like you've got a spiral level from left to right hip. Stabilizing through your torso and your shoulder girdle by imprinting the shoulders back and down, but lifting the pelvic floor and belly up. Check your program here, and then we're going to put the headrest down. We're going into semicircle prep and reverse. Toes on the bar, heels together so your feet are in a V position. Knees are hip bone width apart. You're going to tuck your tail under, roll up, press the carriage out, roll down through the spine, maintaining the carriage still, and then return the carriage back into the stopper. Try and keep the carriage as close to the stopper as you can. Only push out sort of 3/4 of the way so you can roll down and keep the carriage still. Reach the knees up and away from your hips, pressing out, lengthening the front of the hips, and then roll down with length and then return, stabilizing through the shoulders, pressing the heels together as you reverse it. So tuck your tail under and roll all the way up. Return the bed back into the stopper, keep the bed into the stopper and roll down through the spine. Again, pressing out in a neutral, tuck your tail under, lift the hips all the way up. Return using the back of the legs, keep the bed in the stopper and roll back down. And we'll do one more of these. So it really strengthens the back of the legs, it articulates your spine. Working the inside thighs as well by keeping the knees hip bone width apart. And now we're going into mini pulses. So hands clasped behind your head. You're going to lift the shoulders up and then lift and then a little lower. Lift to the height, a little lower. Lift and lower. So imagine there's a skewer going through your right rib cage, out through the left rib cage, and you're pivoting around that skewer. So drawing the ribs down towards the hips and then into obliques. So there's a very small lift of the right shoulder up. It's not too twisted over to the left. So both shoulders are lifting, but more so the right. Working the waist, working the obliques, keep the abdominals flat, and then obliques with the left shoulder lifting. Really feel like you're stretching the spine away and up like a wave going out through the crown of the head, lengthening out through the spine, and then into double toe taps. So you're going to lower the calves down towards the foot bar and then lift it back up, focusing on keeping the pelvis very still. Activate the back of the legs, maybe have a little poke at the back of the legs. Only lower the legs down within a range that you can keep your tummy flat. If your tummy's puffing out, you're lowering the legs too low. Have the arms just up above the hip bones at the side there. And now into hip rolls with extension. So grab hold of the shoulder rests or the little rods there. You roll and extend the legs. Roll only within a range that you can keep the opposite shoulder down. And using the abdominals to roll, and then keep your thighs still as you extend the legs out and then back to center. We want to keep the shoulder girdle at the back there very stable, rotating the belly button but keeping the chest and the breastplate straight up towards the ceiling as best you can. So it's not about going down really low. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Imagine the ankles, knees and inside thighs are glued together. Then place the feet down, have a little breather. Rolling onto the side there. We're going to do a spring change here. So we're doing either 1.5 springs or 1 spring. We're about to go into abdominals. So if you get quite necky, then go for a lighter spring. So maybe 1 full spring. If you're feeling a bit stronger, then 1.5 springs, but only do that if it doesn't get into your neck. We're doing lat pull down series with a single leg stretch. So start with the bed a little bit away from the stopper, arms directly above the shoulders, knees up into tabletop. Pull the arms down, reach one leg out over the bar, and then return. Now, only lower the arms down within a range that you can imprint the shoulder blades flat at the back. And we're lengthening the leg out within a range that you feel like your abdominals are holding the leg rather than the lower back. And then you add in a little curl up. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Really important that when you're doing your hands in strap work, that you're lifting your head up from the mid-back muscles. So the armpit muscles are squeezing down, and that's what helps you brace and support your neck. And then into T-arms, so the arms are out wide, drawing the little fingers in towards your sides, having the elbows slightly bent to help you activate the mid-back muscles. Breathe out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now you can keep doing that, otherwise you start to add in about 6 curl-ups as well. Pressing from the armpits through to the hands, so your neck's not doing all the work. If it gets too necky, you keep your head down until you build up your strength around your upper body and your abs. And then into triceps. So the elbows are just up off the carriage. Keep the elbows still. Focusing on nipping the shoulders back and down, stabilizing and strengthening through the back muscles, the mid-back muscles and the abdominals. Now you can keep your head down or you can add in a little curl up. Now really reach the hands towards the foot bar so you lift your head and your chest up. Lifting up. Lifting the shoulders up by pressing and reaching the hands away from you. Return the bed back into the stopper and then place one foot down followed by the other. Now have a rest, 2 slow, long breaths. Inhale through the nose, out breath, relax. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. Okay, so start with the bed away from the stopper, hands up above your shoulders. Keep the bed still, lift one leg up, followed by the other. Hundreds, bend and stretch. You're going to lift the head and the chest up. The arms are up above the hip bones at the side there. And then pulse the arms, straighten the legs for 5 pulses, bend the legs for 5. Out 2, 3, 4, 5, in 2, 3, 4, 5. If it starts to get really necky, push the hands into the straps even more so that once again you're using your lats, the muscles underneath your armpits, pulling your shoulders down to support your neck. If it gets too necky, put your head down. Reaching the inside thighs. Imagine there's a magnet between the ankles, the knees and the groin. And then return the bed back to the stopper. Place one leg down followed by the other. Have a little rest. Bed away from the stopper, arms up, knees up into tabletop, legs slightly apart. Now we're doing obliques with extension. So the hand goes over the pelvis, the other hand goes on the outside of the leg. The knees are above the hips, working the obliques. Energy out through the arms, and constantly, even on the return, you're pressing the hands into the stopper, so you're controlling the equipment. Pressing against the straps and then resisting against the straps. Have a little rest. And then we're going into coordination. Bed away from the stopper, arms up. Lift one leg up, followed by the other. So lift your head and your chest up, straighten the legs, open and close them, and then return to the start position. Extend the legs out, open, close, and return. Breathe out to lift up, and then breathing in to return. That's where the coordination factor is. Breathe out to lift up and open, close, breathe in to return. Once again, keep your hands up above your hips at the side there, so not too flat down towards the carriage. That'll help you really curve through the upper body. And just do what you can. 4 of these, have a rest and then another 2, or you could do 6 and then have a rest and then another 2, or 8, or up to 10. Bring the bed back into the stopper, place your feet down, and then roll onto your side to get up. And then do a spring change, so either 1 3/4 springs or 1 1/2. We're going to do feet in straps. Have some Pilates balls handy. And then we're going to put your feet in the straps, so pressing the carriage out. Put one foot through the strap, hold the carriage still with the knee bent, and then lift the other leg up. We're doing frogs with the Pilates ball. Feet are in a V position, heels together, toes apart, and then place the ball between the heels. Start with the knees above your hips, but they're open. And then you extend and then bend. The pelvis is in neutral, the lower back is still. Breathe out through the mouth, in through the nose. The challenge here is to keep the ball very still. You don't want to roll the ball left and right. So this really brings up any imbalance in the inside thigh muscles. If you've got one that's really dominant, then it will roll the ball. And then we're going to do a smaller Pilates ball. So as the balls get smaller, it gets harder to control. Start with the knees above the hips, but the knees are out wider than the straps. Feet are in a V position, pelvis in neutral. Extend the legs out and then bend. You might want to place the hands on the belly, making sure that when your legs are extended out, that the belly's not puffing up. You want to exhale, draw the belly flat. So we're getting into that deep layer of abdominals. Pelvic floor is gently lifted to help stabilize your lower back. 10 of these, fantastic for the inside thighs and pelvic stability. So then into circles. Start with the legs up towards the ceiling, but only within a range that you can keep your pelvis on the carriage. In parallel, we're doing circles, so that you lift up, open, down, and together. So you can do anywhere between 5 to 10 of these in parallel, and then keep doing the circles in the same direction, but in external rotation. So this gets more, the external rotation gets into the deep glute and hip muscles. And just notice, is the parallel that turned out more challenging for you? And depending on our leg alignment, that will bring up any imbalance there. And then reverse the circle once again in parallel first. Do anywhere between 5 to 10 in parallel. Maintaining the pelvis nice and still. You don't want to flatten and lift the lower back. Imagine your fingers are underneath the lower back there and you're maintaining that height. And then same direction but in external rotation, in turn out. Back of the legs and abdominals. Back of the legs and abdominals. Keep spiraling, wrapping each thigh bone outwards like barbershop spirals, rolling outwards to get into those deep muscles at the back of the pelvis there that turn our legs out. Now low opening, so the legs start out wide, draw them together and then open them back out. Pressing the feet into the straps and then resisting on the way out. Breathing out through the mouth to draw the legs together, breathing in to open back out. Flex the feet and then point the feet. If that's too much, if that's going to cramp your feet, then you just keep your feet at a natural position that feels all right for you. And we're focusing on pressing from the sit bones through to the heels, the back of the legs. And this gives you a lovely length up out of the lower back. Have a little rest by having the legs together on a diagonal, and then you grab hold of both straps and just have a little rest there. That feels quite nice. Just give your body a little pause, and then we're going into big frog. So you start in a frog position. Okay, you're going to open your legs out wide, pause for a breath, and then draw the legs together over the bar and then bend. Open the legs out and then move the carriage as the legs draw together and then return to frog. The challenge here is to open the legs out without the carriage moving and then press from the back of the legs and the inside thighs. Pelvic stability. Open the legs out. Imagine your ankles are being gently pulled out away from the hips. And then draw them together. And then we reverse it. Hang on, one more. Breathing into your rib cage and then pressing from the back of the legs. Be careful, listen to your inside thighs here. Only go at a height that feels safe on your legs. And then reverse it. So you do a frog, you open the legs out wide, the carriage will move, bend your knees and draw the heels together. Reach the legs over the bar, open the legs out, the carriage will move, pause there, lengthen out through your legs, and then keep the carriage still as you draw your heels together and bend your knees. Lengthen out through the lower back, stabilizing with the back of the legs. The carriage moves as you straighten and open. Now keep the carriage still as you pause and draw the heels together. Stabilizing your lower back with your breath. Pelvic floor, deep abdominals. And then have a little rest. Once again, the legs together, hold on to both straps in the center. And then high opening, so your legs are up towards the ceiling. Only lift the legs up within a range that you can keep the pelvis on the carriage. You don't want your bottom and tail lifted right up, okay? Now, whatever height your legs are, the challenge is to then keep the carriage very still. So you've got to keep the carriage still by pressing the feet into the straps enough to keep the carriage still, but not so much that it moves the carriage. And then you pause there and breathe. Okay, keep pushing the feet gently into the straps so that the back of the legs are engaged. Breathe into the rib cage, pelvic floor, navel to spine, and then draw the legs up. Now we're going into short spine. Put the headrest down and keep your neck straight here. So do not look at the camera or the screen or whatever while you're doing this, okay? Keep your neck straight, roll all the way up. Turn the legs out, bend your knees, and then roll down through the spine. Return the legs back to frog. Straighten the legs in frog. The heels are together, toes are apart. Now bring the legs into parallel, draw the bed all the way into the stopper with control. Keep the bed into the stopper as you roll up through your spine. Turn the legs out, bend the knees, and then slowly roll through the spine and then return the legs back to frog. And again, inside thighs, fold at the hips, get a nice stretch in the back of the legs. Now, as you roll up, if it's really hard for you to roll up, you probably need a little bit of a stronger spring, or you just keep doing the short spine prep, which is in the beginner 2 program. Tuck the tail under as you roll up using the back of the legs and your abdominals. Keep reaching through your legs as you turn the legs out and bend, and then opening up in between the bony protrusions of your spine. Tummy, inside thighs, fold at the hip. Keep the bed in at the stopper as you roll up using the abdominals reaching up out of the spine. Keeping the legs together here. Press the ankles, the knees, the inside thighs together as you roll up. Opening up the back of your legs as you roll down. Really lengthening up and out of the shoulders. Keep reaching up and out of the shoulders as you turn the legs out and you bend your knees. Keep breathing naturally, opening and softening your spine. Return to neutral, extend the legs out. And then we're going to hop off there. So you take one foot out of the strap and then the other leg. And then have a glute stretch here. So ankle across your thigh, grab hold of the shin. You might want to put your foot against the foot bar to help you stretch. Otherwise, it's floating in space and your arms are drawing your shin towards your chest. Send the breath down into the hip and then exhale, relax your shoulders. Just take the time to stretch your hips out. A lot of us spend the majority of our time sitting down, so those muscles get very tight. So just spend the time stretching the hips out here and having a little rest, an active rest. And then you roll onto your hip and lift the opposite hip up, stretching out different fibers, and then back through center, and then swapping legs. Breathing into your ribs, into your lungs, breathing out, folding at the hips. One breath at a time, taking the time to stretch your hips out, and then maybe roll onto your right hip, lifting the left hip up a little bit. And then back through center. Rolling onto your side to get up. Now we're going to put one spring on, so one full spring on. Take the others off. Stand up on the carriage. We're doing a lunge. Put one foot, the left foot against the shoulder rest, and then whack the other leg up on the bar. And then pressing the carriage out so that you're feeling a stretch in the front of your left hip. The right knee is above the right ankle. Engage the left buttocks and then lengthen your chest out away from your hips so your spine is straight. Pelvic floor deep abdominals, and then keeping the carriage as still as you can, you start to straighten your right leg, looking down towards the leg, or maybe straightening your spine out to a flat back, or maybe dropping your head down. Return the bed back into the stopper and then switch legs. So right foot against the shoulder rest. Shift your weight onto your right hand. Put the left foot up where the left hand was. And then you press the carriage out. The left knee is above the ankle. Keep the left heel slightly lifted so that the muscles are engaged around your ankle. And then focus on that right hip. Engage the right buttocks so that you stretch the right hip. Straighten your leg just to a point that you feel comfortable. If this spring feels too light, then you can always put 1.5 springs on to make it more supportive. Pausing there and breathing. Now return the bed back into the stopper and then put that left foot down. Hop off there. We're going into scooter. So I like to use the box here. If you don't have a big box like this, you can stack some big books or something that you can step onto. It doesn't have to be as high as my box, but just to lift you up a little so that your pelvis can be even when you do this. Okay, so scooter with a flat back. So your spine is straight, pressing back through the left leg with the back of the leg, contracting the back of the leg as the bed returns, the carriage returns back into the stopper. Your right arm is out to the side, so your obliques are really working here. Now put right hand down, left arm out. Keeping the spine nice and still, the weight is back towards the heels and you're pressing through the heels here. Out through the mouth, in through the nose, stabilizing through the lower back. And then curve the spine, open the right arm out, straighten and bend, pushing the carriage back with the spine curve. Now really sit back on your heels, so much so that you could lift your left hand off the bar. You want to feel like you're tucking your pubic bone towards your chest, opening up the lower back and scooping the belly in. Maintain that, then left arm out to the side. Pressing back, heaps of weight into the heel, so much so you could lift the hand off. Keep tucking your pubic bone towards your face and then stabilize through your shoulders. So really wrap your shoulders around and down. Keeping very still through your torso, moving the left leg. And then other side. So you're going to step off the box. Around you go. Place the box in line with the carriage. Step onto the box. The foot is in line with the middle of the carriage. You start with the carriage a little bit away from the stopper. Knees are even, left arm out to the side, and then you push through your right leg. The challenge here is to keep the buttocks contracted throughout. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Keeping very still through the supporting leg, your torso, your shoulders. And then swapping hands, so right arm out to the side. The shoulders are still, they're pulled down. Your pelvis is still, making sure both sides of the waist are long and lengthened. Engaging the supporting leg and engaging the back of your right leg. Stabilizing through the pelvis. Now put both hands on the bar, tuck your tail under, look towards your belly, really scoop and hollow out your belly. And then shift your weight all the way back, test it by lifting your right arm off, and then C-curving while you're doing the scooter. All the weight is into the heels, and you only push the carriage back within a range that you can keep the pelvis tucked and the C-curve through the spine, unhunch the shoulders. Swapping sides, so left arm on the bar, right arm out to the side, shifting the weight all the way back onto the heels, keeping the C-curve, but then activating the back of the leg. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Keep the buttocks engaged, both hands on the bar, and then lifting up. So put the box to the side. We've got one spring on. Now we're doing elephant with a leg lift. So now we're going to add on half a spring. So you've got 1.5 springs on the carriage. Okay, so hands shoulder width apart, heels against the shoulder rest, toes lifted. And then try and have a flat back. Now draw your left leg over through the shoulder rests and up and keep both legs parallel. You want both hips and shoulders square. So what you need to do is you need to push your right hand into the bar like you're pushing the bar away from you. And then you pull the left hand like you're trying to pull the left side of the bar towards you. Then swap sides. So you push with your right hand, pull with your left to help you stabilize. Make sure both hips are square, so we could put a spirit level at the back of your pelvis there and it'd be nice and still. Engaging your thigh, reaching out through the leg. Inside thighs are still drawing together even though they're slightly apart. Draw the bed back in. So that was with 1.5 springs. Now we're going to lighten the spring and do exactly the same thing, and I want you to feel this more in your abdominals now. So before it was more a strength thing, this is more a subtle, deep abdominal connection now. So now we're moving the leg nice and slippery in the hip, but really focusing on all abdominals and thigh, drawing the leg in. Once again, you're pushing the right hand into the bar, pulling with the left, keeping the torso and the arms very still as you move and isolate that leg. And then back through center. Other side, so you lift the right leg up, push with the right hand, pull with the left, stabilize the hips, inside thighs are squeezing towards one another. Out through the mouth, in through the nose, deep abdominals. Tummy muscles are drawing the bed back in. Keep the toes lifted to stretch the sciatic nerve. Torso, arms, shoulders very still. Return back to the start position. Now have a little stretch. So you just imagine I've got hold of your pelvis and I'm pulling you back. Drop your head down, have a little stretch. So now we're going we're going to put 1.5 springs on. So you're going to add that half spring on again. So we've got 1.5 springs. Upstretch 2, the heels are lifted up on the shoulder S. You're reaching your pelvis back. So it's like a downward facing dog. You can have your knees bent or legs straight. Now you push the carriage out into a plank position and then you return the bed back into the stopper to the start position. Okay, you can have your knees bent there if you need. Otherwise, straighten them. Now pivot in the shoulder joint and the hip joint. Okay, you want to keep the arms as still on that diagonal as possible and then you pivot around that joint. The arms should not drop as you push the carriage out. The challenge here is to keep the arm bones still in space as you draw the carriage in and out, going from a plank to a pyramid or a downward facing dog position. So you're pressing out, engaging your core, pull your armpits down towards your hips, and then you draw the bed back in using your abdominals and your thighs. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Take half a spring off. We're doing 1 spring, exactly the same thing. So this is much lighter. It's going to be less about upper body strength now, and it's going to be more about core, deep muscles. Same principles apply. You want to keep the arms and the shoulders very still, and you pivot around the arm and shoulder joint. Pressing out within a range that you don't hollow in your lower back and sink the pelvis down. So only push out within a range that you feel your abdominals supporting you, and then deep abdominals and thighs back in. The legs are apart, even so engage the inside thighs. Imagine the inside thighs are drawing towards one another. Keep the collarbones away from the ears. And then press the bed into the stopper and then return. Add a spring on now. We're doing 1.5 springs. Upstretch 3. You press the carriage out into that plank. You draw the carriage forward, you press back out, and then you return back to the stopper. Breathe out to go into plank, breathing in to pivot forward, breathing out to go back into plank, breathing in to return back, all the way back into the stopper. Use your abdominals and your arms and your legs there. So press out, Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen over the bar. Press back out, challenging your core. This very much so on this spring uses your arms. Okay, we're using the arms, the deltoids, and then we're using the lats, the muscles around the side of the ribs, and then abdominals here. Lighten the spring, so you take half the spring off. Now we've got one spring on. Start with the bed into the stopper. You roll your knuckles forward like that to lift you up out of your wrists. The bed is pressing into the stopper here. You press out to a plank. You go forward, forward, forward. You press back and then return. Keeping the arms still in space, and then you move the arms. And then you move the arms, keep them still in space, return back to the stopper. Abdominals here. Arms, arms, and then abdominals and thighs. Once again, the legs are apart, but energetically you're drawing the inside thighs together, particularly here as you draw the bed back into the stopper. And remember to go all the way back into the stopper to get that last little inch of contraction in the tummy and the thighs. Hopefully you're feeling nice and sweaty like I am here. That's what we want. Working the body out, but in a calm way. Hands on the bar. Down stretch prep. Start with the carriage away from the stopper, but in a deep C curve. So look towards your pelvis, tuck your pelvis towards your face, and your abdominals are imprinting your lower back. So you press the carriage out within a range that you can maintain the upper body very still. Pressing the carriage out until your thighs almost touch, and then scoot back in. Okay, I'm trying to give you a better demonstration of that scoop here, but my top keeps doing weird things. Anyway, so push the carriage out. You start with the carriage away from the stopper in a C curve, and then you press the carriage as far back as possible without it going into your lower back, and then draw the carriage back in by tucking the pelvis under. Press the carriage out, and then deep abdominals, draw the carriage in. Inhale, and then exhale. You can actually do either breathing here. You can breathe out to push out if that helps you feel like more stable in your lower back. Otherwise, you can breathe in and then breathe out to return. Remember, keep your collarbones away from the ears, pressing the armpits down towards the floor so your shoulder blades can widen and stabilize. Bring the bed back into the stopper. Mermaid. Give your wrists a little rest there. Okay, that series is very wristy, but over time you'll build up that strength as long as you keep the space underneath your palms slightly lifted whenever you're doing weight-bearing work on the bar. Press the carriage out, curving to the right, and then rotate the left hand towards the bar. Return hand back over the head, and then return the bed back into the stopper. Lift up, reach over, and then return back to the start position. The bed starts a little bit away from the stopper, and the arm is out. C curve over to the right, 1. Try and keep the bed as still as possible as you rotate the left hand, 2. Return back to that side bend, 3. Back into the carriage. Grab hold of your shin, bicep to nose, lift up and over. And then hand on the bar in line with your torso, maybe a little bit further, arms straight. Again, reaching up and over. Rotate collarbones away from the ear. Breathe into the back of your ribs there. This very much so mobilizes the thoracic spine where your ribs connect to your spine. And if the nose to bicep doesn't feel good on your neck, you can do what I'm doing here, which is facing the screen still. Lift the left rib cage up. Rotate. Breathe into the mid-back. Lift the left rib cage up. Return back to the stopper. Reaching up and over, lengthening out of your hips and your spine, and then return. Other side. So you're in a Z sit. Shins towards the shoulder rests. You might even want to roll that calf open. Start with the bed away from the stopper. Over you go. Rotate, try and keep the bed still, pressing the right hip down as you draw the right shoulder forward. And then square back up, draw the bed back into the stopper, grab hold of your outside shin, nose to bicep, and then lift up and out. The nose to bicep gives you a length up out of your spine. Laterally flexing through the thoracic, and then pivot around. Breathe into your mid-back. Rotate. Back through center. Up and over, lengthening out. Return, hand on the bar, bed away from the stopper. Laterally flex. Keeping the hips as square to the front as you can as you rotate your collarbones towards the bar, and then square back up, return, and then lifting up and out of the ribs. One more. Breathing into the rib cage. Rotate, draw the belly in as you press the right hand into the bar. Square back up, navel to spine, return, and then deep abdominals lifting up and out of the lower back, and then return. Feels so good on your thoracic spine, particularly if we're sitting in front of a computer, hunched forward over the computer. We're doing short box series now, so you put the short box against the shoulder rests. Feet underneath the straps, flex your feet and separate your legs. You can put some springs on just to keep the carriage in at the stopper. You perch towards the front of the box. Now roll back. Lift your arms up above your head, draw them forward, C-curve, and then straighten your spine up. Lower back is imprinting towards the box. Arms go over in like a diamond, then bring them back to genie, C-curve forward, and then lengthen up. Deep abdominals, imprint. Keep the deep abdominals, lifting the chest slightly, and then up and over, stretching your lower back, and then lift up out of that. Deep abdominals, tucking, imprint. Flexing the feet so your thighs and the back of the legs are working here as well. Now hands on your forehead, flat back with a reach. Hinge back, reach the arms up, hands to forehead and return. Hinging back, keep that hinge as you lengthen. Hands to forehead, return. So stabilize through your shoulders as you reach the arms out shoulder width apart, then hands to forehead, return. So you go from your sit bones to the back of your coccyx. Thighs, hamstrings are engaged, the back of the legs. Hinging back. Keep lifting up out of your chest, keep lengthening through your spine. And then tilt with the hip hike. Lift the right hip up, lower the right hip down, return with length. Laterally flex. Lift the hip, lower the hip down, and then return to sitting. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, deep abdominals, breathe in. Our focus is the obliques. Lower the hip down and lift. Twist with a hinge, rotate, hinge back, return, rotate, hinge, return. Keep the belly button forward as you rotate your chest. Rotate the chest, hinging back. And imagine there's a pole up through the spine there. You want to try and keep your neck as elongated and in line with your spine as possible. Target area is the torso abdominal muscles. Just checking the program here. Into sides, so your right foot is in the strap, your foot is flexed and the foot is pushing up, so the outside of your right leg is working. Hands on the head. You're on a diagonal, you lower down and then up to the diagonal, you lift and return to the diagonal. Keep the pelvis and your lower back as still as possible, and it's like you're pivoting around your stomach area through the rib cage. This is quite a hard exercise. If this is too much for you, then you go back to the sides on the box in level 2. So laterally flexing and lifting up. You're going through a diagonal plane throughout. You keep lengthening up out of that diagonal plane, pivoting around your stomach. If there was a skewer going through your stomach right out through your back, at the back there, you're pivoting around that area. Keep lengthening up and out. You should not feel this in your lower back. If you're feeling it in your lower back, your top hip is rolled too far forward. So roll it back a little and bring it into the abs. And if that was too hard, then you just do the level 2 version. Long box. Place the box in a long box position. Put the foot bar down. We're doing pulling straps, 1, 2, and triceps. Chest is off the edge, the legs are out wide, arms are forward on a diagonal, and the thoracic spine is flexed forward. You're breathing out to swipe the arms by your side, really draw your shoulders back and then forward. Okay, so you go from a neutral position to a flexed forward position. I like to do this still without using the straps because this is very challenging exercise to do properly. I find if you use the straps too early, then it gets too necky. Okay, we need to isolate those spine muscles, mid-back muscles. The legs are very active, your kneecaps are lifting up, the tailbone is anchoring down towards the box. Now arms out to a T. You go from a neutral to thoracic extension, neutral to thoracic extension. The legs are reaching out towards the back, and then your breastplate is reaching forward and up from there. Keep the neck nice and long. Imagine someone's hands at the back of your neck though, so when you lift up, there's still length and elongation at the back of the neck. Tummy muscles engaging now. Really feeling this in the back of the legs and the mid-back. Lower the arms down now from a neutral position, triceps. Breathing out to straighten the arms. And you can do this in a thoracic extension as well or into neutral. Tuck the tailbone down towards the floor. Engage your legs, reach your legs out of your hips. The deep abdominals engaging, the back of the arms. And then lower down, have a big stretch. Place the hands on the frames. Maybe swing your legs on the box like a horse. And then C-curve back. Scoop the belly in, tuck your pubic bone. And then hands on the knees, lift your chest up. Just have a little stretch there. Put the bar up to its normal height. We have either half a spring on or 3/4 of a spring on. If you've got too heavy a spring for this next exercise, then it's really going to throw your stability out. So you want it quite light. Half or 3/4. Chest is off the box. Hands are on the box. Bring your hands into shoulder height, shoulder distance. I needed to move forward a bit there. Long box with a single arm. Bring your hands in closer towards your shoulder level, and then you lift up with one arm out to the side, and then you lower back down. Breathing in to lift up, breathing out to return. The challenge here is to keep square through your shoulders and your hips. Don't allow your left shoulder to roll. Don't allow your torso to rotate to the right. So in this one with the left arm on the bar, we don't want the torso. You've got to stabilize and press through your shoulder blade like I did there. As you lift up, don't allow your shoulders to rotate and sink. You're lifting the chest up, keep pushing the hand into the bar so that you're really working your lats on the left side and your obliques. Hips are square as best you can. Place the hands on the bar, slowly return the bed back into the stopper. Swimming legs. You can rest your chest on the foot bar or you have your chest just off, and then swimming legs one at a time. Keep the pelvis very still, keep your torso very still, back of the legs working. You might want to do a little stretch here, just tuck under, open up your back. And then thoracic extension, lifting your breastplate up and open. Arms sitting, chest expansion. Have your legs either crossed over like a kid sitting in a classroom, or the legs are out straight over the headrest. Hands through the straps, spine is in neutral. Pressing the arms by your side, and then inhale, return. Pressing the arms by your side, really focusing on the shoulder blades and the muscles in between and underneath the shoulder blades there. Pressing the hands, reaching the hands down towards the floor so that you get this lift up and out of your ribs. Stabilizing your neck with your shoulder blades. Biceps, elbows in line with the floor, and then drawing the hands in and out within a range that you can keep your elbows very still. Reaching the elbows towards the wall that you're facing, feeling the wrap of the shoulder blades down and wide, deep abdominals supporting you, and shoulder blades. Pelvic floor is gently lifted, helping you stabilize through your lower back. Triceps. Elbows in by your sides, but they will be slightly apart so that you don't hit the carriage. The challenge here, yes, we're working the triceps, the back of the arms, but the challenge here is to maintain torso and shoulder blade stability. Making sure that when you straighten your arms, your shoulders don't roll forward, your arms don't roll forward, and quite the opposite. You want to feel like you're actually like rolling them back to help them stay still. Rhomboids, forearms through the straps, arms up. Elbows shoulder height. Pelvic floor, navel to spine. Open the arms and then draw your shoulder blades together and then return. Arms, shoulder blades, arms. Arms draw, and then drawing the shoulder blades together, really working the muscles in between your shoulder blades here. It's quite challenging. If it feels too hard, do lighter, and then it'll really target the right muscles if you've got the correct spring on. Postural muscles here, drawing the shoulder blades back, helping us strengthen up our shoulders to support our computer posture. Often we're very weak in between the shoulder blades there. Well done. It's a tough exercise. Turn around, you keep hold of the straps and then just double check that you haven't crossed the straps over there. Once again, the arms, you're sitting, scoop the arms and then flip the hands so the elbows are up higher than the straps, hands in line with your chest, open and then return. This is called hug a tree. Imagine your arms are wrapping around a big, thick tree. If you'd prefer to have your legs straight, then start to straighten your legs out. Keeping the torso very stable whilst you're moving your arms is the challenge here. We don't want the spring so strong that you have to push forward with your torso. Keep lifting up and out of your pelvis, lengthening up and out of your spine. Salute. Flip the hands so the straps are up higher than your shoulders. Reach up and then return to the temples. The hands are wider than the shoulders and then the hands to the temple. Keeping the forearms as still in space as you can. The armpits are facing the foot bar and feel like those armpits are pressing towards the foot bar, and this will help you stabilize through your shoulders. The deep abdominals initiate the movement always. Inside thighs are drawing together to help you lift up out of your pelvis. Out through the mouth, in through the nose. Draw the bed back into the stopper, put those straps down. Eagle stretch, cross one elbow on top of the other, elbows up in line with your shoulders, melt the collarbones down. Breathing into the muscles at the back of your shoulders, the head is dropped down slightly to stretch the back of the neck. Roll your shoulders around and then the other arm on top. If you can't quite cross your hands over, then just your version is fine. So maybe just the elbows. Roll those shoulders around. Now we're going into some standing work on the reformer. So put the foot bar down. You might want to take your socks off. Otherwise, if you've got Pilates socks on, they're great. They've got the little grip pads underneath. Otherwise, you can use a sticky mat. We're going to have one spring on, so one full spring on. You step up onto the reformer. Make sure that you're straight. Make sure that your toes are in line with one another. We're doing skating 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that your feet are aligned. Your legs are parallel, knees over the middle toes. Now bend your knees, hinge forward, and just moving the carriage leg. We're wanting to keep the foot bar leg very still, your pelvis very still, and you're pressing out, targeting the muscles on the outside of your left hip. So press through your heel. Think of your heel pushing the carriage out. And then keeping that carriage leg still. This is skating 2. You're pushing the carriage out and in from the foot bar, from the foot plate leg. Your leg that's on the carriage remains very, very still. The spine is like a speed skater in the Olympics. You're leaning forward, your knees are bent, your bottom is out, but your deep abdominals are supporting your back. Have a little breather because that's quite strong on one spring. If you're finding that too difficult, then make the spring into a 3/4 weight, 3/4 tension. And now skating 3. So you're pressing out and bending the knees, straightening both legs at a time. Straighten both legs, bend both legs. The challenge here is to keep the torso on the same plane as you're pushing out and in. Pressing through those heels using those outside hip muscles. Return the bed back into the stopper, straighten up, shift your weight onto the foot bar leg and then step off. Other side, step onto the foot bar first. Position your feet so that they're even. Feet are parallel, hands behind your pelvis, bend your knees, lean forward. Nice and deep. Now just the carriage leg. Our target area is the right outside hip area, the glutes. Press through the heel to really target the glute med and glute min. That supporting leg will be working in an isometric contraction here as well. Now switching, so now you're moving the carriage out, but with the foot bar leg. Requires a bit of coordination here. If this is too hard for you to coordinate, then do the glute work from the beginner 2 program. Putting the hands on the knees can help you when you feel that you're getting fatigued there. Stand up, have a little breather, and then when you're ready, you bend your knees, lean forward, hands behind the pelvis, make sure that the pelvis is even, and then we're pushing out and in, skating 3. Having your hands on your knees assists a little. Breathing out through the mouth, in through the nose, initiating by pressing the heels apart. Deep abdominals, pelvic floor engaged. Keep the pelvis and spine as still as you can, and that torso moving on a horizontal plane. Try not to bob up and down. Straighten up, lift up, shift your weight onto that foot bar leg, and then stepping off. Make the spring lighter now, either 3/4 or a half. We're doing inside thighs. Step onto the foot plate, and then you move your carriage leg to the center of the carriage, pressing the feet together, and then you push the carriage out within a range that feels safe for you. Now draw the bed into the stopper, squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it into the stopper. Open out, stretch, arms to a T. Now lift your arms up to a high V, legs inside, inside, inside thighs, reaching out. And then push down to lift up pelvic floor, deep abdominals. Good, keep lifting the pelvic floor up and then squeezing the legs together. Press the bed into the stopper. Now you can turn the legs out very so slightly. Just be careful with your feet position here. Inhale, open, and then exhale, now drawing the legs together. Calves, inside thighs, buttocks. Stretch mobility and then strength by pressing the bed into the stopper. You've got to really switch that on. Pushing out, collarbones down, pressing out, engage your armpits, pulling the inside thighs together. 1 or 2 more, only within a range that you feel safe. If the spring is too light, then add on a little bit of a support there, and then into a thoracic extension where you lift your chest up and return. The challenge there is to, when you do that back arch, that thoracic extension, to keep the bed in at the stopper. Don't let the spring and the inside thighs go. Parallel to start, arms out to a T. Inhale, open. Exhale, draw the legs together, inside thighs, pelvic floor, lift. Again, inhale, open. Think groin, knees, ankles drawing together. Only within a range that feels safe for you. Press, press, press the legs together. More, 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 more. People often just draw the carriage in and then they just sort of like hang out there. You've got to really actively press the carriage into the stopper. Lift your arms up. So now we're bringing in shoulder stability with the legs. Turn the feet down into a little V, pressing the heels in towards one another. So keeping the shoulder blades stable as you move the legs as well. Inside thighs, heels, calves, inside thighs. Collarbones away from the ears. Back of the legs drawing together. More, 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 more. Inhale, open. Exhale, pressing the arms down, legs together, squeeze and lift. And then thoracic extension, keep the bed in at the stopper. Shift your weight onto the foot plate. Stepping off there. Tendon stretch, lift the bar up. Put a sticky mat underneath your pelvis. If you don't have a little sticky mat, then you can use like a Pilates mat or a yoga mat. Sitting on the carriage towards the front of the carriage. Feet are in a V, hands are on the bar, heels together. You're pressing the carriage out, flexing the heels under the bar, lift the heels and then return. The heels remain together. Breathe out to straighten the legs, the heels are together. Breathing in to flex, heels together. Breathing out to lift, heels together. Breathing in to return, keep the heels together. Drop your head down, look towards your pelvis. Keep looking, bending your elbows as well. Lift your heels up, keep looking towards your pelvis, tuck your tail under. Diving forward, exhale, inhale, exhale, lift the heels, and then inhale, bend and return. Out through the mouth. Now as the heels lower down, keep pressing the calves, the inside thighs together. Feeling the co-contraction of your abdominals and the back of the legs as you tuck the tail towards your face. Imprinting the lower back away from you. It's a beautiful stretch to finish the class with. Eventually you have your shins and your forehead touching. Well done, guys. I hope you feel great after that workout. Keep practicing that until you feel really strong. So how did you go? I really hope you enjoyed that workout. I'm looking forward to taking you through my next video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date and get notified when it's released. If you did enjoy the workout, tapping the like button is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and remember, movement is medicine.